All right, today we're going to be learning how to create our own Google Doodles. So through the slideshow, you've learned a little bit about what Google Doodles are, and now you're going to learn how to create one using Google Drawings. So before we get started, I just want to remind you that there are other ways that you can create Google Doodles. You can use Google Slides. You do your own pencil and paper art. If you have an iPad or an app like Procreate or something that you can create digital art with that way, you are more than welcome to do that. This is just one way that you can create a Google Doodle. So let's get started. The first thing that I need is the letters that spell Google. So I'm going to go to Insert, Word Art, and I'm going to insert each of the letters for Google. I'm going to do those one at a time. And for each one, I'm going to go to Insert, Word Art until I have all of the letters of Google. Okay, so I have all the letters of Google here. This is not my favorite font style, so I'm going to change mine. I'm going to go from Arial, and I'm going to change it to this chunkier letter style. It's called Luckiest Guy, and I can change all the letters at the same time by putting a box around them and hitting that drop down to change to Luckiest Guy. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to resize my letters and make them all a little bit bigger. So I'm just using the boxes right here to make them all a little bit bigger. Okay, so I have all my letters resized the way that I would like them. Now I need to think about what I want my theme to be. So I'm choosing the theme for Black History Month, and I really want to create a theme around Shirley Chisholm. So that's what I'm going to work on for my theme. So Shirley Chisholm became the first Black woman elected to Congress in 1968, and she served several terms until the 1980s. So I would like to honor her with my Google Doodle. So I'm going to go ahead right now and add some circles behind my letters just to kind of give it a little bit more definition, and it's going to help me as I'm going through and adding other elements to my Google drawing later. So I'm going to add a circle behind each one. Okay, so one of the things that you will notice with Google Doodles is that a lot of times the designers replace some of the letters with something that might be a symbol for that person. So one of the things that I'm going to use to replace one of the letters is the congressional seal, because Shirley Chisholm was the first Black woman elected to Congress. So I'm going to go to Insert, Image. I'm going to search the web, and I'm going to search for congressional seal. Okay, once I find it, I'm going to add it into my drawing, and I'm going to replace one of the O's just because it is a round letter and I think it will replace it very nicely. So I'm going to delete my O, and I'm going to bring up my congressional shield. So I'm going to replace another one of my letters with a picture of Shirley Chisholm. So I'm going to go to Insert, Image, search the web. And choose the picture that I want. And then I want this picture to be a circle. So once I put it in here, I'm going to make it a little bit bigger. And then I'm going to go up here to this crop tool. I'm going to touch this little down arrow next to it. It's called the masking tool. And I'm going to choose to make this picture a circle. So since it is a circle, I'm going to replace my other O with it. So I'm going to resize it. Going to add a little bit thicker border around these. Oops. So I'm going to stick with this kind of navy blue and white theme that I have going on in the congressional seal here. So I'm going to change the colors of my letters and then the background circles. So my G, I'm going to go ahead and make that dark blue. The background, I'm going to make it white. The background of this one, I'm going to make it dark blue. And then the next background, I'm going to make it white. And I'm just going to continue that pattern. So if the letter is blue, the background will be white. If the letter is white, the background will be blue. Something else I know about Shirley Chisholm is she was a recipient of the Presidential Freedom Award. So I'm going to, whoops. Yeah. Okay, so something else I know about Shirley Chisholm is that she was a recipient of the Presidential Medal of Freedom. So I would like to add an image of that into here. I'm going to kind of shrink it down a little bit and kind of make it look like it's hanging from that G. Just another little element about Shirley Chisholm that makes her unique. Okay, so I have my Presidential Medal of Freedom on there. And I want to think about any other touches that I can add that might give a little bit more information about who Shirley Chisholm was. Something else you might not know about her is she was actually a presidential candidate, and she had this slogan, unbought and unbossed. So I want to try to find a way to incorporate that into my Google drawing. So in order to incorporate that, I found this primary source from the Library of Congress website, and I used the masking tool to kind of make it into the shape of an L. So I don't really like that it kind of cut off part of her image, but I do really like that it included that slogan that she was using, unbought and unbossed. So I'm going to leave that on there. So now I've got my L. So now I have the main components of my Google drawing, but I'm going to continue to add in a few more things that I feel like represent Shirley Chisholm. So for example, I know that she represented New York's 12th congressional district. So I'm going to insert an image of New York. Oops. Insert image, search the web, just like we did before. I'm going to search for New York State. I'm going to find what I'm really looking for is like an outline of New York State. So I'm going to bring this over here. Okay, so a couple things that I've added. I added in the outline of the state of New York because that was where she lived when she was a congressional representative. I added the flag of Barbados because she spent a lot of time there with her maternal grandmother as a child. And then I also added in a pencil over here because she was actually a teacher as well. So I've added all of my symbols. The only thing that I have left to do now is I need to create my artist statement. So I need to make a statement about who I chose to represent with my Google drawing and why I chose that. Okay, so here's my artist statement. So I wrote, in celebration of Black History Month, I chose to create a Google Doodle to honor Shirley Chisholm. Shirley Chisholm was the first Black woman elected to the United States Congress, and she was the first African American and woman to run for the Democratic Party's presidential nomination. Some of the symbols I chose to represent her is the Presidential Medal of Freedom, which she was awarded in 2015, the Congressional Seal because she was a member of Congress for many years, and the flag of Barbados because she spent a lot of time there as a child. I also chose a poster from her presidential run and a pencil because she was also a teacher.